How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on BTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, RSL.
And Volatile, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week. But first of all, if you would like to be involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com or following us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server most easily by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on the show logo on any of our recent show posts, which should take you directly to our Discord server where you can find all manner of terrible pictures and bad image memes and videos from Serathis about Doom mods, etc.
There is a lot of Doom going on.
Doom
With Serathis in the Discord.
He likes his Doom.
He does like
He
his
does like
Doom.
his Doom.
Alright, so on the stream today I'm playing a bit of Grim Dawn again, which is, I've played before on the stream. It's, you know, your standard ARPG thingy, which is Titan Quest meets Diablo, I guess. But I've installed a mod that adds a few new classes and a few mechanical improvements.
Wait, what's in the space between Titan Quest and Diablo?
Grim Dawn now.
Oh, I guess. And that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's got the Titan Quest skill system, but more the theme of Diablo. That
I
whole
see.
Grim, dark, gothic dealy.
Edgy.
Yeah, slightly edgy.
Like super edgy.
And in typical fashion with the with this era of ARPG, it's even got the disturbingly similar soundtrack.
Oh, I see.
I don't know. There was a period actually I think we're still going through it, where every ARPG seems to have at least one track with acoustic guitars in it. Played badly.
Acoustic guitar isn't cool.
No.
I think that we may be unfortunate that we will probably be about 60 or 70 years old before the last people who think that acoustic guitar is cool are finally dead.
Yeah.
Like, because they're all people who grew up about 10, 15 years before us who just, acoustic guitar was the peak of cool.
Uh-huh. I don't think it's going to happen.
And unfortunately, we're just living through that. We're living through that period where they have all of the power to put acoustic guitar in everything, except it's not cool and they're the only one that it is. I tell you, it's a huge liturgical problem because, you know, classic church music is supposed to be chant and organ.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always some douche who thinks it would be better with acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
I tell you, the guitar mess is a tragedy.
They're always cringy and terrible.
Yeah.
Anytime someone breaks
And
out a guitar.
They encourage the writing of bad music as well.
Yeah. There is one worse instrument, which we actually talked about before the show. The ukulele.
The ukulele.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ukulele.
The ukulele has a lot of crimes to answer for.
I
Yeah.
can tolerate acoustic guitars if it's just some random dude making an acoustic version of a song on YouTube, but beyond that, it is absolutely obnoxious and drives me nuts.
Yeah. More to the point, the deliberate inclusion of the string squeak. Which is all Diablo's fault. The original Diablo.
I'm pretty sure that's
Oh,
been
right.
a horror cliche for a while now, I thought.
Yeah, that's like old school.
Yeah.
Like that's like the Hitchcock thing.
Yeah. Oh boy. So yeah, aside from, you know, the horribly cliche soundtrack, I still really enjoy this game. Right. So, I guess we'll just jump straight into weeks. My week has been dreadful. It was school graduation this weekend.
I see.
If there was ever a group of people that's less organized than schoolies, the school graduates, I don't want to meet them, ever.
Yeah. It's I think that a lot of that disorganization and panic is sort of artificial. Like, it's because the mother of the clan will start to become a bustling mother hen and will organize people to the point where it goes out the other side of organization and becomes sheer chaos.
Yeah. in this case, it's them. Well, typically after their whole graduation formal, they do an after party, which is entirely organised by the students. The parents have absolutely no handle.
Entirely illegal.
The legality of it is usually highly suspect. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those drinking laws. But
Yeah,
they'll usually invite the teachers, who are honestly almost as bad. So
our teachers were too stingy for that. They would be the ones calling the cops.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. We invited the teachers to my school graduation, but they kind of just sat in the corner and watched. They were cool, but they weren't really into it. Which is probably just because I did more or less the same thing as well, so whatever.
I never went to any of those functions, so...
Yeah, not even the official black tie finishing of school graduation formal thingy?
I only went to that because it was mandatory.
No, I went to the final assembly, and I duly trotted across the stage to collect whatever prizes I had, and then that was it.
Yeah. For us, that's where they handed out the high school graduation certificate. So you kind of had to go to that.
There might have been a certificate, but I don't think that anybody's ever asked for it. So
yeah,
why does it not exist?
That diploma's been filed away in the bottom of the file drawer forever. I've never had a reason to pull it out.
That's the thing.
Actually, no, they handed those out in an informal assembly in the common room on the last day of school, which was after the graduation ceremony.
No proper ceremony, just here you go.
No. Yeah, it was exactly that. It was like, oh, I guess I'll read off these names, come and get them as I read your name off. And we were all sort of like slouched all over the place in the common room.
You've got your certificate, now sod off.
That was more or less it, yep.
At least you didn't have the valedictorian as your best friend, and when he gets up to do his speech, he quotes a WoW Chivo, and I realized the day before he asked me, what's the name of that Chivo where you get all the holiday achievements in WoW, and he opens it with like, what a long strange journey it's been. And I realized, oh my goodness, he was thinking about putting that in his speech, and he based it on WoW. This is terrible.
How many people
was your friend a total cringe lord? Seriously?
Yes. But
so anywho, graduation. What they actually don't tell you at school is high school results really don't matter. Like, at all.
At all. Ever.
Yeah, if any
nobody will ever care ever again.
Nope.
Yeah. Did you get out? Is it not a GED? That's it. That's all people care about.
Yeah. They'll worry about your results for maybe 2 years after you graduate for university entrance, and that's about it.
Yeah, and if you're a sane person, you'll work for those 2 years to pay for your way through college, so you don't got to take out student loans.
Yeah.
So.
The student loan, the shackles of which they bind you.
Yeah, I'll never pay mine off. I'll be dead before it's paid off.
Yeah. Don't do it, either me or Valda. Don't try and work and do college at the same time. That's not good for you.
It's because
that almost killed me.
Well, Vol was crazy. He went for a full doctorate. I mean, that's debt you will never pay.
And he did it all on student loans. Don't do either of those things.
Oh, boy.
Education is still cheaper than it is in the US.
Yeah.
Not from the local college.
Hey, welcome to college. We own you now.
I went to a dang community college, and that degree has worked just fine.
Yeah.
Community colleges don't usually offer doctorates, though, do they?
No, they don't. If you, but it was dirt cheap.
Yeah, Australian universities will leave you alone until you reach a certain pay threshold, at which point you receive a very unpleasant surprise once your next tax return comes through. It's like, oh wow, you got your tax. Here's your tax return, but we're keeping it because we own you now.
I've never even bothered to file mine because I'm too scared of what I'll find out if I try and do my taxes. Because the odds are not in my favour.
You may be over that threshold. I believe New Zealand's not too dissimilar from Australian, the way you're doing things. So yeah, good times. It's graduation, and now in the traditional Australian way is all those schoolies are going to go to the Gold Coast and get absolutely smashed off their faces on the beach.
And get arrested. Because the cops know this.
Oh, yeah.
And they need to meet their quota.
Because it's the same every year.
Yeah. And there's usually a few sexual assault charges. I mean, actual sexual assault charges.
Yeah.
So don't go to the Gold Coast for the next week or so. Especially Surfers Paradise. You never should go to Surfers Paradise.
I'm pretty sure that shady old men go out of their way to go there.
Yeah, it gets a bit creepy.
Yeah, like this at that time of year, there's lots of predators looking for impressionable young women just out of high school.
Yeah,
especially ones that are on a beach drunk when they've never been drunk before.
Yeah. So if you're one of those schoolies, be careful.
Yeah, and don't drink anything that's been left unattended.
Yep. That's the golden rule, is do not do that, because roofies happen. A lot.
Yeah, keep your drink in your hand at all times and in clear line of sight.
Yeah, if you've left your drink unsupervised at any point, ditch it.
It's poisonous now. So just deal with it.
That drink will now kill you.
Even if nothing happens to you specifically, somebody's going to have to babysit you that night, and you don't want that.
No. Nobody wants to be that guy.
Yeah, nobody likes being the babysitter. I had to be the babysitter a lot.
Yeah. I was the designated driver for everyone because I swore off drinking early.
I was never the DD, but whenever somebody got something happen to them because they weren't paying attention, they consumed something they didn't think about, was always the one, hey, we need somebody to watch this dude. Something happened. We don't know what he ate, but it was probably by accident. I'm like, dang it. So I gotta go babysit him all night.
Yep. That's your night ruined. Enjoy.
We had, in my first year of university, we had to call an ambulance once because somebody drank too much. Obviously, they weren't used to drinking, and they thought that they could, just indulge endlessly without thinking.
Oh dear.
And got hauled off to the hospital.
Yeah, and their liver gave up.
Yeah, alcohol poisoning is a very serious thing.
It mostly happens to university freshmen.
Yes.
Yeah. There are plenty of times I probably should have called the ambulance for people that I was babysitting, but I'm like, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh yes, the other, of course, thing at the Schoolies Week is, of course, illicit drugs. Do not touch that stuff.
Yeah.
You don't know what that is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what some drug dealer tells you that they're giving you. There's about a 50% chance it's laced with something.
Yeah.
Especially, in the US anyway. I don't know how bad your dealers are.
Like, it might be jacuzzi salt cut with baking powder, but it might be something else as well. So
this is a tablet of pure chlorine.
It might be like rat poison. You don't know.
Yeah. These people try to sell you anything, claiming it's anything. So, don't buy random green leaves from people, and don't buy random white powder of any type from people.
Like, strychnine is not a high. I'm here to tell you.
No. And nobody likes brain damage.
Yes.
Right. So, public service.
I think are we done with the power? Yeah, I was just going. Are we done with the PSA segment of the show now?
I think we are now. I think we are.
We gotta tell him because we've been through this. We did the college thing.
I skipped the whole Schoolies Week thing because I kind of took one look at it because no, I'm just going to sit down and play Ninja.
They say there's a time and a place for everything, and that place is college.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy. So, nerdy stuff I did this week aside from PSAs. Not much. I kept going on Hunter x Hunter and finished the Greed Island arc, which was okay, I guess.
That's where I froze up. I stopped in the middle of that arc.
Yeah. It tends to get a bit bogged down on the game mechanic that they've got going on that. So you end up with episodes upon episodes of everyone just kind of standing around talking about cards.
Yeah, I'm like, this is wonderful that you've got all these rules for this little micro world inside of your universe, but I don't care. and it disappears after that arc.
Yeah. Well, the thing's over now. There's no point in going back to it.
Well, I think that's the worst disease of shonen. Really, is that a lot of the exposition will be disposed of as soon as the current arc is over.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point in doing, what is effectively pseudo world building for a world which is going to cease to exist by the end of the volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next arc is something about Chimera ants. I believe the big bad out of this arc is the poster child for the series.
That's the arc everybody says is really good, but you got to slog through. Like the spider arc was okay; it was a fun watch, but after that you got to go through Greed Island, and before that you had like the weird like mini arcs,
the weird Battle Tower mini arc, which Hisoka turns up and just randomly orgasms for no apparent reason over and over again.
Wait, what?
So
it's weird.
Yeah, Gon's rival Hisoka, he's kind of got this clown motif going on, and he's extremely weird and unsettling. But whenever he fights someone, he seems to just randomly orgasm in the middle of the fight.
I don't really want to know any more about this.
Yeah.
He's a very ugly and disturbing clown person that has the gaze for Gon.
In a very, very weird way, yes.
And he is very creepy.
He is creepy beyond all reason.
Alright, I'm done. I'm out.
The thing is, though, he disappears for a while, and everything gets better, and now all of a sudden he's back, and everything is weird and creepy again.
Yeah, they built him up as the recurring major bad guy of the series. Like, he just is always there.
Yeah. He's also now, after the spider arc, he starts to be weird and creepy about the leader of the spiders, too.
Yeah, that dude's weird.
And
I don't... Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that dude.
No. It's like he wants to be Shonen Kefka, but he fails. He's just creepy. Without everything that made Kefka work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're past me now, so...
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's where I give up.
The big bad guy, as I understand it, is not Cell. He's basically Cell.
Oh, the dude with the turtle helmet that has the cell tail?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Cell with a turtle helmet.
That's
what he looks like.
Helmet.
It's the only way I can think to describe him. He looks like Cell, but he has a turtle helmet instead of a bug hat.
Yeah. Is this thing a crown? I think it's a crown.
I don't know.
I feel like that the DBZ Abridged characters have now completely replaced all my memories of the original.
They really, really have.
I think that's really the most impressive part of DBZ Abridged is the fact that the characters don't deviate enough from the original to be different people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the genius of it. Because they're able to overlap.
Go on.
Except, well, I think that they've managed to make comedic characters which have the same outline so that you can lay them perfectly over top of the originals.
Yeah.
It helps that the original DBZ characters were part of that group of shows that became the foundation for what modern shonen is. So they're very baseline in general, all the characters.
I think the only exception is
that.
Mr. Popo, who went for some sort of genial, happy genie thing to Eldritch Abomination.
Yeah, well, the thing is that we still don't really know much about Mr. Popo, even in the original.
No.
Like, you don't really know. Who is this guy? Is this just like some sort of, like, vaguely racist aphorism left over from goodness knows when? Or, like, what's going on here? You never find out anything about Mr. Popo. But that mystery is spun out into something entirely different in the
incredibly horrifying.
Abridged version. Yeah, deeply, deeply horrifying. But it also helps, I think the voice actors are really good.
Yes, they are. They started out a little bit wobbly, but even when they were first beginning, they had a very solid grasp of the thing.
Yeah, well, because they were trying to convey characters that they knew.
Yeah.
Which is something that most voice actors don't have the luxury of doing, because they just get given a script.
Yeah.
And, as we are well aware at this point, most ADR is not very good.
Yeah.
So, if you're just reading lines off a sheet of paper, there's only so much you can really do, even if you're good at voice acting.
Yeah, you need to have the context and everything to go around it. Alright, so yeah, I'll keep plunking away at that series, although the pile of other stuff I need to watch is piling up. That time I got reincarnated as Slime had a really good episode this last week.
I haven't had time to watch it.
Oh, watch it. There is fire.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it tonight.
Okay, well, I won't spoil it then. That series, even though it is just standard isekai pap, it is still a lot of fun. Oh boy. Now, as for gaming, I borrowed an account and played some 76. Fallout 76.
Oh boy.
Man, I have heard nothing nice about that. It's just been everybody I have seen who is not working for like Kotaku or Polygon thinks it's a freaking dumpster fire.
Yeah, it's why I picked it up and played some of it, is so I could see for myself exactly what's going on here.
I sat down and watched some footage of some people playing it, and they sounded like they were pretty much disgusted with the experience, and it looked like trash. Like, it looked like something that I would expect to run on my computer 5 years ago.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the positive stuff, because there is good stuff about it, and I really did enjoy what I could play. So first and foremost, anyone who actually talks about the microtransaction in this game being anything other than probably the least offensive microtransactions they possibly could have had is blowing smoke up your ass.
Oh, well, I mean, keep in mind though, like, this is not just about the microtransactions are trivial. It's that they bothered to invest time in setting up microtransactions, given the state of the rest of the game.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like microtransactions aren't an insult in and of themselves by their nature, to the extent that when the rest of the game does not make you want to give them money, then they become an insult. They look bigger and worse than they really are.
Yeah. So what they actually are in this game is it's a bunch of cosmetic stuff you can buy, so paints and whatnot, skins, things you can plump down in your base if you really want to go that far. Haven't looked at the conversion rate for funny money, but you can earn it through the game doing daily achievements, so it's no big deal.
Well, you say that, but somebody did the conversion as a wage per hour played for it, and it's really, really awful. Like, really staggeringly awful.
It's
like you've got to play for an extraordinary amount of time, because they sort of tempt you with higher rates early on. Like, you get more opportunities to earn early on, and then it gets worse as you go along, and eventually you end up being a sweatshop worker trying to get emotes.
Yeah. It would be a problem if I actually gave a toss, honestly, about the cosmetic stuff. But it's about as inoffensive a system as they could probably make it, I guess. Yeah,
about everything else.
Aside from leaving it out entirely.
Yeah. Well, but that's the other thing, right? Like, oh no, I'm putting the cart before the horse. You better go on.
Yeah. So the gameplay itself, if you've played Fallout 4, you know pretty much what to expect with the gameplay. You wander around, you explore the place. There's stuff to find, there's guns to shoot, there's monsters to kill. You know, the usual loop for Fallout first-person games. The gameplay loop itself is fairly solid. You run around, you explore, you dig up bits of lore and treasures and whatnot, and you go out and use that to find more stuff and treasure. It's a good, solid experience right at its core. But... and
there's always a but.
There's an enormous, big, wobbly, hairy butt on this one.
Gross.
Yes, I know, right? Well, it's also a radioactive butt. Think of that what you will. So, yeah, I enjoyed the core experience.
I don't want to think about that.
Don't. Just don't. Yeah, I really enjoyed the core experience. But then we come to the bugs. It's a Bethesda game.
Yep.
Need I say
Dust bugs.
Dust bugs.
Everybody is T-posing wildly everywhere.
I haven't seen much in the way of T-posing. As far as bugs go, I've been fairly lucky. I've had a weird conversation with Robot who was talking about T trying to reenact exposition scenes from Kekai Sensen and just randomly jumping around all over the place, which is always weird. I've done things like walk into a building and the furniture doesn't exist, but the rest of the set dressing and the textures do. So you have these kind of weird shapes hanging midair.
It's like just doilies.
Yeah, a doily hanging in midair with a coffee cup sitting on it. And no table underneath it.
I've seen footage of those zombie dudes. I don't know what they call them, Fallout, but they're definitely zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Just sort of like walking through doors and walls.
Yeah.
Like they just ignore them entirely, walk through them and attack the people inside.
Yeah, they're ghouls. Or possibly Scorched in this one. I'll come back to the Scorched in a bit. But,
they're zombies. Let's be real.
Yeah, the feral ghouls are basically zombies. They actually, in universe, they call it going zombie. What else have I had? I had a supply drop come down, which is always usually a very, very good thing because it contains guns, ammos, and all sorts of shiny things. And then it just clipped through an inaccessible building and landed inside the world geometry.
Herp derp.
Herp de derp. So that was annoying, and it also leaves the quest marker on your map if you don't turn it off, which is also annoying. So, yeah, I've gotten fairly lucky as far as bugs go. I haven't had any crash to desktops or anything like that. People on consoles seem to have it worse, but I kind of find it a little bit hard to sympathise with them. Mostly because this is a Bethesda game and you bought it on the console. Have you learned nothing?
You're sort of... Yeah, you're getting what you pay for.
Yeah.
Which is to be sodomized by Todd Howard.
No, thank you.
No.
Yeah, well, don't pay for it then.
The smug. The smug. Yeah. The bugs can be fixed. There's issues with inventory management. Like, you only have so much stuff you can carry with you at a time before you hit your weight limit, and then you need to go and dump it in your stash. But your stash is also fairly limited. Like, I've been able to manage so far by breaking down excess crafting materials, bundling them up, and selling them to vendors. But there's people later on in the game who've stashed a minigun or something like that in there, and that's a bulk of their stash limit gone. Especially once you start getting into things like power armor.
Right.
They've said they're working on that one, but there's some back-end system that's preventing them from upping that limit without causing lag.
That back-end system is called the game engine.
That's the big issue. Yeah, the biggest issue of this game is that game engine. Like, the creation engine was made...
They are exactly where Blizzard were trying to do wonky crap in World of Warcraft back when it was still the Warcraft 3 engine, like, recognisably.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing worked. Everything was broken all the time. Like, people don't remember this part because of the warm glow of nostalgia for Classic WoW. Even though I've talked up Classic WoW a lot in the past couple weeks, It was buggy as crap, man. Nothing worked, and it broke all the time. And the reason was they were using an ancient game engine that they'd tried to adjust and adjust and adjust and adjust, rather than just starting with something fresh. And what happened down the line 5 years later? Everything is spaghetti code and they can't do what they want. So they have to gouge out huge chunks of the code and rewrite them from scratch. That's why the early expansions took so long, was because they couldn't use old code that had just gotten entangled with everything else.
Yep. So yeah, that engine I think is holding them back. It was made for Skyrim, I believe, the creation engine. It was the Gamebryo engine before that for Fallout 3 and New Vegas, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yeah, the thing is that Fallout 76 still manifests all the same bugs that the Skyrim did.
Yep. Yes, it did, because they never got round to fixing it. To be fair, they have fixed the bug in Fallout... Well, yeah, got to be a little bit fair. They did fix the bug in Fallout 4, which causes textures just to not load properly. So, most of the time, anyway. It still happens occasionally.
I still had stuff fall through the world.
Yeah.
Like, when your quest target suddenly disappears because you took a plunge through the map.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
That's been around since Fallout 3.
Yes.
It was especially bad in New Vegas' early launch. But that engine needs help. And by help, I mean it needs to be trashed and a new one made.
They really need to make a new engine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at it superficially, I don't think that Fallout 4 Fallout 76 it barely looks like a whole new generation after Fallout New Vegas.
No.
Like if you put a high def texture pack on New Vegas, it looks roughly as good as Fallout 4 and Fallout 76.
You should totally do that when you play New Vegas. It makes the experience a hell of a lot more enjoyable. But yeah, it's you can walk around and you just see things like this was made out of 10 polygons instead of 100 or so, which it really should have been.
Okay, so what I'm hearing most people comment about, like let's say leaving aside the most acrimonious stuff, and there's a lot of acrimony floating around out there, is that they never meet anybody. Like they'll like run into one person in a play session for like 2 minutes, and that will be all that they see.
So the map in this game is enormous as far as Bethesda maps go. It's bigger than Skyrim, it's bigger than Fallout 4 by a considerable margin. But on that map, because they wanted to keep this desolate, dead world feel, there's only 24 people on the map at any given time.
Which you will never see.
Which you will almost never see unless you actively seek them out.
Which makes me wonder why it was necessary for it to be a multiplayer game to begin with.
Honestly, like, I would have been happy if you could just say, do what I guess Diablo 3 did, where you say, all right, I'm playing single player, but I want people on my friends list to be able to jump in, and just go with that.
Let's be fair, this is Rust with a Fallout skin. And
I wouldn't say it's
there's not really... there's not really any point in it being the way it is, given the gargantuan amount of difficulties that they've had with their network side. Like, that's all just completely unnecessary for a multiplayer game where you almost never see anybody else. Like, why not just let people play it offline? Why does it have to be like this? Because the way they've done it now, like, a large portion of the people who did not buy it cited as their reason that they didn't want another bullcrap launcher on their computer.
And that's another big gripe, is you cannot get it through Steam, you've got to get it through the Bethesda launcher, or buy a physical copy. only reason for them to do that was so that they could do always online garbage. Well, other than, so they can control the flow of money with a tighter fist. Like, this is about facilitating their always online garbage. And it seems to me like it's totally unnecessary, because they've had so many problems, and you've got to store so much stuff on your hard drive as it is, that it just really doesn't seem like you're actually leaning on their servers in any meaningful way. It's the whole thing has given me the impression of being quite embarrassing, or it would be an embarrassment for a developer who had any shame. And we know that Bethesda doesn't have any. But yeah, like, what's I wrote some numbers down somewhere in the chat. Cannot find them because they are embedded at some point. Here we go. The initial install of Fallout 76 was 45 gigabytes. The day one patch was 51 gigabytes. Yep. There is
like that's not normal.
No.
That's not how it's supposed to be. The first patch should not be bigger than the game.
Unless you're Capcom, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, Capcom. I mean, add that on top of the amount of, like, insult to injury crap that Bethesda has couched this in. Like, if you go into a store and buy a box copy of this game, the disc in the box is made of cardboard.
That's right. They put out an announcement saying there's a big optimization and balancing bug fixing patch coming out on Monday, but be warned, it's going to be big.
Why didn't that come out at launch? Why didn't it come out before launch? Why didn't it come out in beta, where it belongs?
Because they didn't use their beta or their public beta for bug testing. They used it for marketing.
No, it was an advertising exercise, and not even a good one, since everybody came away thinking the game was trash.
Yeah. So I'd be more annoyed at this game, though, if it was complete trash. But it's not. The actual game itself, when it works and when things make sense, is very, very fun. Like, I love going through the hidden places and finding bits of lore and treasure.
But is it a Fallout game?
Yeah.
With no story?
There are stories. There is a story, at least. And, okay, I might as well tackle the big elephant in the room as well. This whole stance on no NPCs. It does make the storytelling very difficult, but what's really annoying is, from a lore and background perspective, it makes no sense. Like, there were people all over the wasteland, or, well, I suppose at that point it was all over America, who managed to find places to hide and survive the bombs. Those people then went out and became the tribes and the raiders and things. So from a lore perspective, having no NPCs around doesn't make any sense. But in-game, it doesn't make any sense either, because you will find radio signals or notes or messages and things saying, hey, we are survivors at X place. And even the Vault Overseer does this as well, saying, hey, I'm out exploring ahead, come follow me.
So basically it strongly implies at every turn that there are people to find, but there aren't people to find.
Exactly. Every time you get there, they've either just moved on, or they're all dead because there's corpses. And these are normal, non-mutated people corpses.
This doesn't seem like it actually facilitates the telling of the story.
It doesn't. A bulk of the storytelling is actually done through notes, audio logs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I heard the game referred to as, like, Fallout 76, the Audible book. Pretty
much. So I'm really annoyed because it's saying, the Overseer would say something like, hey, I'm at the next place already. She's by the way, at most got a 24-hour lead on you when you leave the vault. At most. And somehow in that time, she manages to build camps and scavenge for supplies and leave big boxes of goodies for you. So
she found a cache of methamphetamines shortly after leaving the vault.
So, it's just, I like the game, but I also hate the game. What is going on here?
Bethesda's going on here is what's happening.
Well, now, I mean, you're a Fallout fanboy, so I mean, I think that you're already standing too far in the I like it camp. But
probably.
The thing is, if you look at this in context, at what it is supposed to be, this is supposed to be a franchise-defining, genre-defining AAA game.
No, it's not. It definitely does not hit that goal.
It is not any of the things that it wants to be. That makes it, in my mind, a bad game, because it has singularly failed at everything that it's attempted.
Mm-hmm.
What's more, it's a bad product because it doesn't work half. Like, that's the thing. Like, in anything that Bethesda has done here, which is subpar in a customer services realm and providing to the customer the product that they wanted and paid for, these failures would be unacceptable for any other type of manufacturer.
Yep.
Like, if Bethesda made cars, how long do you think that they would stay in business?
It'd be a car that rolls off the production line, which, while it works, it also has square wheels and no seats.
It'd fall through the world. You just lose your car.
Like they might in fact become prosperous for being people who have managed to create the first car capable of falling through the world.
That could be interesting if it can break quantum physics like that. So I'd like to play more of the game because it's just a big sandbox to faff around in. By the way, PvP is pretty much superfluous. Don't even bother about it.
I've heard it's a total non-entity because you won't meet anybody to shoot and you can't hurt them when you do.
There is what could be a very cool game mode, which is Hunter Hunted. So you turn on a radio station and it will assign you a target of another player. But also someone will be given you as a target. Which would be fun if there were more people on the map. But there's not. There's only 24 and that's it.
Well, I mean, I think that this is the problem here is just that what people wanted was not a multiplayer Fallout game. They wanted a Fallout game that they could play with somebody else. Like, I don't think anybody wanted Fallout the MMO. Yeah. I don't think that was not actually a live option. And so what they've ended up doing is trying to split the difference. They're trying to make their Fallout MMO and pitch it in a way that is compatible with the desire for multiplayer rather than the desire for an MMO. Mm-hmm. And it's basically fallen into the no man's land between the two. Mm-hmm. So nothing really quite works the way it's supposed to. Like, on one hand, you didn't have to pay the price of walking into the the town hub and then seeing, you know, people bouncing around, like jumping on the spot everywhere. Like, you didn't have to do that. But in exchange, you really can't play with people you want to play with either. Like, you can't have an incidental encounter and then do anything constructive with that person.
Yeah.
Like, the game is just not equipped for it.
I've had a couple of encounters which have kind of worked like that, where there's been a giant high-level thingy hanging around, and I've teamed up with people who happen to be around at the time to bring it down. Kind of loses something, though, when everybody's wearing giant novelty Vault Boy heads, though.
Yeah, from what I can see, everybody wears a party hat. Like, that's been what I've seen of the footage.
I found a bowler
Everybody
hat,
wears
I am therefore superior.
But the other question, the other big question pertinent to this game is, will anybody be playing it? Does it have legs?
Yeah, hard to say. Because there are crazies out there like me who are just happy to have a big sandbox to faff around in. But
well, when I say anybody, I don't mean is it going to have a player base of 3 people. I mean this is a genre-defining, franchise-defining AAA game which needs to acquire genre-defining, franchise-defining AAA money in order to justify its existence.
In that case, no. Honestly,
it's got to attract all those sales and keep a good, healthy number of people playing it.
Honestly, marketing it as that whole big AAA genre-defining that they did, it was a really big mistake.
It seems like a gimmicky spin-off.
Yeah, and that's what they should have marketed it as.
It shouldn't be like a replacement for Fallout 5. It should be a spin-off game.
Yeah. And not
hyped to hell and back.
Yeah, and I think they've done themselves a horrible disservice by marketing it as anything other than a gimmicky, fun spin-off. Fallout 5 is a couple of years away. Here's something stupid and multiplayer to take your time keep you busy in the meantime. Like, that would be fine.
I don't know. I'm suspicious that they were hoping that they would like luck into Bottled Lightning or something, like when World of Warcraft launched.
Yeah.
Like, there's no question that the people who made World of Warcraft, you know, they put a lot of effort in and so on and so forth. I mean, they had a lot of remedial work to do after the fact, but they still struck gold. It wasn't something that could be predicted necessarily. But I feel like the Fallout 76 people, they didn't go in with a plan for this to be a spin-off or for this to be a plan to be an ongoing side project alongside a ongoing development process for a new Fallout and so on and so forth. I think that they were hoping that they could put Fallout in a holding pattern and continue to make money through microtransactions long term on the side.
Mm-hmm. And
I don't think that this game contains what would support that, because while I've heard people say that, oh, the map is enormous and gorgeous, there's lots of cool environments and places to go and explore and whatnot, but I don't know, like, if you're going to maintain a player base the size of, you know, Rust, if you're going to maintain that player base size, you know, with a small multiplier for the fact that you've got brand name recognition, I don't really think that that's enough. Like, you're not supposed to be trying to be Conan Exiles. You're supposed to be, you know, trying to make a mark on the franchise.
Thankfully, they haven't gone the Conan
one that
Exiles.
everybody tries not to talk about.
Yeah.
everyone keeps their skin tight blue jumpsuit on.
Yes. Or at the very least, they're suspiciously dirty tidy-whities.
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the project is it's a very wonky idea to start with, and I think most people already knew that and were suspicious coming out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just rolled from PR disaster to PR disaster ever since.
Yeah.
Like, the game has been completely slaughtered online at all of the aggregation sites.
Yeah.
Like, anywhere where anybody can lay down like user reviews, we're looking at sub 4 out of 10 for user reviews.
Oh, don't look at Metacritic then. That's a dumpster fire. Like, it's the reason why I undertook this, actually, is because this is the internet. You only get binary opinions. Either you get the shills or the hate boners. And that's it.
But people have been writing all sorts of abominable articles trying to defend this thing. Like, it just makes me want to hate it more. Like, the people that are defending it are such a bunch of assholes that it's like, well, I don't really want to like it now because I don't want to be associated with those idiots.
It would be a lot easier for me if this was a complete dumpster fire like the online pundits are saying it is, aside from the shills. But there is stuff to like in it, and that's what's kind of really annoying me. Because if they'd made a few different decisions and, actually bug tested the thing properly, it would have been a lot more fun.
So here's the $1 million question, right? Mm-hmm. If you are not a Fallout fan...
Oh, no, avoid.
If you're not a hardcore Fallout fan, like really hardcore fan, if you just casually like the games, would you recommend the game to that person?
If you're a casual fan and you've got a group of friends to play it with, do that, because it can be a real blast when you're doing silly shenanigans in the wasteland. If you want to play it solo and you're not a hardcore fan, don't.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a problem for a game these days, because a lot of that Fallout fandom, like, there are people who are too busy to schedule playtime with other people on a regular basis, because the Fallout fandom has gotten older as time has gone.
Yes, they have.
And it seems like it's a really poor play strategically to create a game that requires you to have friends on tap available at all times.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a Fallout fan who's in high school, maybe you've got time for that crap, but most people don't.
Yeah, we still can't even play Titan Quest.
We really should do that one of these days. Properly actually finish it instead of only two of us.
I'm not even sure that game exists beyond the halfway point.
Come on, you haven't even made it out of Greece yet.
I have made it out of Greece once.
Just once?
I don't.
Just once, but we killed the Gorgons.
Oh yeah,
we killed the Gorgons.
We did.
That's something.
Take that, Steno, with your terrible noble phantasm. Why is her noble phantasm so bad?
It's better in Japan.
Okay.
So, in 2 years, Theno will be usable in North America.
Yay, I think. So, I'm going to keep an eye out on Fallout 76. Like, I like it to be good and actually properly playable. But, yeah.
I don't know, you describe games to me all the time that you dabble in that sound way more fun.
This is the random dabblings.
Like, you could be farming slime poo instead. Like,
I have done that.
Like, do you feel that the Fallout 76 experience is like definitely leagues above farming slime poo?
Yeah, sometimes. Farming slime poo has its own charm. Mostly because those pooing slimes have adorable happy faces.
Now think about how much money went into each of those experiences.
That hurts. Yeah, there's
like some little group of sort of like not really well established developers had a cool idea about farming slime poo, and they put together a fun little game for people to play so they can farm slimes and collect their poo.
Yes.
And on the other hand, you've got the Bethesda juggernaut, which has all the money in the world and doesn't care a lick about their customers. And they've basically squatted down and dumped out this product which looks superficially like Fallout and plays like a walking simulator with guns. And this is what they are offering. With all of that money, all of those resources, and this is the best they can do.
Sooner or later, we are going to hit.
It's hard not to be insulted.
Yeah. Sooner or later, we are going to hit a tipping point with the AAA market. I'd hope, if I had any faith left in humanity, anyway. But it can't come soon enough, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I sort of understand the mentality which would lead developers to want to push in the direction of trying to stave off encroachment of costs for developing for high-end systems, because at some point you're going to hit a brick wall where it's just not feasible to develop for these super-powered machines and so on. Because, like, who wants to actually do 4K textures if you can do a 1080p texture pack and that will be sufficient?
Mm-hmm.
that's like audiophile equipment, right? Nobody actually like. If you look at, I need to stop saying like so often. If you look at if you look at something like digital media and the difference between digital and analog media, so you've got vinyl and you've got something digitized. So your waveforms are all squared off because they're in noughts and ones, as opposed to, you know, the graduations available for vinyl. People claim that they can tell the difference between those, but the number of people who actually can is vanishingly small.
Yeah.
And that's going to be where we're going with 4K. It's like, do you want to create an industry built around vinyl when you know that there is like a handful of people who have both the equipment and the talent to tell the difference? Or are you going to just take the cheap option? So, yeah, I think that there is that wall is a very real and very looming thing that is coming up now. And I know that those hucksters at NVIDIA are trying to push this new ray tracing thing, which basically adds reflections and stuff that nobody notices on a normal basis and costs you like 60 frames.
Doesn't DirectX already do that, 60
This is a different system. This is a hardware level system.
Of course.
Rather than a software one.
Yep.
Ray tracing, and it's on all their new cards, and like Battlefield 5 has adopted it and nothing else. So everybody switches it off so that they get 120 frames instead of 40.
Yes.
But yeah, so there's all these systems which are trying to push the envelope, make people buy the next best, greatest thing. And I think that we're just going to see, if we're really, really fortunate, we'll see the emergence of talent again.
Maybe.
Because people are going to want to carve out a space with, you know, things like Slime Rancher and Crashlands and that sort of thing that are based more on imagination than horsepower.
Also terrible puns, but yes.
Well, yeah. But that's another thing. That's about creativity. Puns are an offshoot of creativity, the most vile, debased form of creativity.
I was going to say
creativity.
They're more the lack of creativity.
But creativity, nonetheless, it's in the same genus at least.
It's the dark side of the coin.
There's those sides are going to be a bifurcation in the way games development goes on, because I think that you're going to end up in one form or another. All these big companies are going to hit two major caps. Number one, the Fallout 76 cap, where they are just trying to squeeze their franchise into old concepts inexpertly and cheaply to try and spin some dosh. And the other cap they're going to hit is the cynicism cap, where you have like Madden, NBA, FIFA loot boxes, you know, which are just that is raw, untrammeled gambling. That's the gacha.
That's the gacha.
It's possibly worse than the gacha because you don't ever get any free currency. But I think those two walls are going to draw a line between those people who have rediscovered what it's like to create a cool game and the people who have to take care of their shareholders, and that is their concern far, far above the actual product. Yeah.
That's not even factoring in budget bloat.
And I think that even if you can find things to like about Fallout 76, I feel like it is sort of like a creature of its age. Like it's a beast that indicates things are drifting in a less creative direction, because it's not in concept or execution positive in a creative sense. It's just a thing. It's just a thing that they've made with a Fallout skin, which doesn't create any kind of new and interesting gameplay. It is just inexpertly and clumsily fails to provide stuff that's been provided better elsewhere. And I think that it is sort of like a weather vane for the way things are going. You know, engines that have been spun out multiple times, franchises that have been wrung out to the last drop, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully the dissatisfaction which is starting to accrete around these things will spur on more creative people to create better products. If we're really lucky, it will boot some of these bigger companies in the backside so that they remember that it's not all you think you do, but you don't. Sometimes you actually have to make a nice product.
Yes. Brand name and reputation will only take you so far. And we've seen franchises where they've just pushed their fans too far one too many times. Command & Conquer, for example.
Is this foreshadowing?
It might be. Which is also foreshadowing.
We're also an hour into the show, by the way.
Wow, okay.
This is still Fern's week. The week in which he was too busy to do anything.
Yeah, I actually had something worth talking about, though.
We did a news segment, basically, during Fern's week, so...
We did. So...
We'll let it slide.
Seeing as though we've got to keep on time, Vol, do a thing real quick.
It would be wrong for me to say I had a busy week. I didn't have a busy week because I had a 3-day weekend to launch it off because I changed roster back to Tuesday to Saturday.
Sensible, you mean?
And Thursday was the AMP show, so the roads were completely gridlocked. And Friday was show day. So everybody was drunk. So I had Friday off, and I loafed around and didn't do very much because that's how I spend my days off. I don't have the energy to do anything else. So yeah, I don't have much to report in particular this week because mainly I farmed FGO and had a real bad time. Basically, I'm still having a bad time right now because I'm cursed to never have CEs drop ever for any reason, and I am in Christmas 2017 rerun hell at the moment.
Yeah.
I can't break through this wall. I'm glad that it's not a difficult event because I would have been exhausted by now. It was. So it's been very cruel to me.
Yeah.
I did finish Camelot. I finished the story of that chapter, and it was a good finale. I enjoyed it. It has a lot of little bits that open up the lore a little bit, show you a little bit about the structure of the world and the way characters diverge in the different timelines and the sort of capacities that they have if things had turned out differently. I've always enjoyed For Want of a Nail stories. I've always found them very interesting, like alternate histories and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Like especially if the person writing them is very well informed about the conditions at the time and the way things were likely to go. For Want of a Nail, that refers to that Britisher coming guy, right? What's he called? Aristeel?
I forget.
Revere or something?
No, that's Paul Revere.
Yeah. So I think For Want of a Nail refers to that.
It's it's a concept where if one minor event changed very slightly from how it would normally play out, history changes significantly for the worse.
Well, not necessarily for the worse, but definitely significantly. Because I've read plenty of For Want of a Nail stories where something that really bad that happened didn't happen, and things actually turn out well for some people, but just differently for others.
Yeah, it's what people confuse with the butterfly effect a lot.
Do they?
Yeah, a lot of people think that's the butterfly effect.
People need to go back to school. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of that because all of the singularities take place in variant histories where something has gone horribly, horribly wrong for one reason or another, or at least horribly, horribly different. And I'm not going to say why it wasn't in Camelot because that's the big spoiler of the story, exactly how that all went down. But you do learn a little bit about it. I suppose the big failing is I've read a fan fiction retake in the past of Camelot since and it does bring out some things I thought were very interesting because in the way that story it's not the guy's writing isn't the best, but the story, the plotting quite good. But he retells it for a scenario where all of the Knights of the Round were in attendance during the Singularity. And it sort of brings out a lot of other interesting ground that they could explore based on that as well, because of the fact that you do have... There's a lot that's sort of left up to your imagination at the end of Camelot. Like, just what is the psychology of the knights that decided to side with the Lion King? And by Lion King, I mean the king of Camelot in as appears in the Camelot Singularity, not the Disney movie.
Yeah, not Simba.
Not Simba. Although I've seen plenty of meme images of Rafiki holding up Mordred at Pride Rock.
Oh, internet. I love you sometimes.
But yeah, I enjoyed that story. I'm very much looking forward to to seeing it produced as a movie. I think you could probably do it as one movie, though. I'm worried that them splitting it in two is going to add padding. Like I found that the Heaven's Feels first movie I felt was too slow. My brother disagrees with me. He thinks it was perfectly right. I thought that they spent too much time derping about, considering nobody but a fan is going to watch it anyway. So you don't need to have a whole pile of crap about Shinji that I don't care about, considering he's just going to get demonized to hell and back as soon as you find out what he's really like.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am worried that it might not quite be enough for two movies, but I'm still looking forward to it because it is paced correctly for a movie. I think the way that the story is constructed is about the right length for a movie. A series wouldn't work.
No.
Like I don't think that you could actually do even a 12 episode of it. It would end up feeling weirdly paced. But a movie is a good fit, I think. Especially because the story itself doesn't take place over that long of a time, because the entire singularity is a race against time. Lion King's trying to prevent their plans, and you need to find a way to topple them before the world ends, basically. So, yeah, I enjoyed that, and now waiting for Babylonia, and I have no idea when Babylonia is going to come out, because they want to drop Solomon on the 31st, and there's not actually that much time before the end of the year, which makes me feel even older.
I know, right? What happened?
Yeah, I feel like I just started the year, like, last month, and it's already the end. But, yeah. I played some more of Berseria. I've made a little bit more progress. I have run into, what's the name? The scenario where you have to deal with, what's his name? Zavid and Melchior at the same time.
Oh.
That's where I'm up to. I don't know how far through the story that is, because I'm making very slow progress. But
Zavid's hard to pin down. He shows up a few times in the main story, but the climax of his story arc is optional in-game stuff. Not post-game, but in-game.
Right. Okay. Well, I hopefully I don't miss it, but
you can't miss it. It's impossible to miss it permanently, so you can always do it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm still enjoying the story, but I'm becoming increasingly irritated at the combat mechanics. Like, they just seem really clumsy. The worst thing about it for me, on a practical basis, that I run into all the time, because I mainly control Magilu, I find that the AI is just, while I normally want it to be able to use Mystic Arts, every time I use her Magilu's Break Soul and she's about to cast the counter spell, it will use a Mystic Art and cancel it.
No.
And you don't get your soul back. You don't get any damage. Nothing goes your way. It's awful. I'm like, oh, this is an opportunity. There's tons of things casting in to blow up this whole group. So I trigger the break soul, interrupt all the spells, and Mystic Art, one thing dies, and I lose my soul. And the other thing about this combat system is I don't actually know if I'm doing something wrong, but it seems like once you get behind and you're on one or two souls, it is excruciatingly difficult to try and pull yourself out of that ditch.
Yeah, if you get low on souls, you're in trouble. You don't want to go below 3 souls if at all possible.
Yeah. It just seems like that's a poor design. Like, you would think that there would be a system that allows you to at least get 2, possibly 3, by managing to find a safe place to rest in combat or something, because this just, it's unplayable once you hit 1. You basically have to just run around and hope your AI-controlled allies can do something.
Yeah, because
the odds of you actually landing something are really poor.
They have to land a proper stun to guarantee a knockout for a soul to come spilling out somewhere on the field. So if you get down to 1 or 2 souls, you're sitting there and you're going to be mashing whatever button has maybe it'll stun the monster.
Yeah, or looking around to snipe a kill somewhere. But yeah, it seems like the
casters in that game.
Yeah, the combat system really is kind of sloppy. Like, I'm not a fan. There's a lot of things about it I don't like.
Coming off of Zestiria, though, where combat didn't matter. Because
I didn't play Zestiria, but
it feels like they're pulling the ship out from a nosedive. Like, the plane is crashing in Zestiria. The gameplay doesn't matter at all. The combat's boring, and you just have to mash one button, no matter what difficulty you play on.
Because I thought Grace's was excellent, and Cilia was pretty decent. Wasn't as good, but it was quite solid, and there was lots of options there. But Berseria, by contrast to those two, is really mediocre.
Yeah, it's no Tales game is exceptionally good with the general consensus when you play the casters. Generally, you only pick them up if you need to, is what most people agree is the most fun way to play the game. And Berseria is extra bad about that because of the break soul system, where you don't have a whole lot of options to stun dudes as a caster. If you play like Aizen,
I haven't had too much. I haven't had too much difficulty with it, because Spirit Drop is really good at stunning things. So, and it's got 2 elements and a creature type attached to it, so it gets a lot of play. Plus, it's got huge AoE and hits multiple times. So, I haven't had much difficulty with stunning things. It's just that if you get down to 1 soul, you need to go back to your controls and then rebind Spirit Drop to your first move and just spam it over and over again. This is the only way you're going to get any souls back. But that whole system is bad no matter which character you're playing. If you get down to 1 soul, which happens, particularly if you get one of those battles where different monsters overlap and the ground goes dark, you know, that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the rate at which you get debuff seems to shoot through the roof there. Every debuff will stick. And like I said, I've just gotten to that bit with Zaveid and Melchior, which means for the past hour I've been fighting nothing but skunks.
I don't remember the skunks, but
they paralyze with everything. Everything inflicts paralysis.
Right, it's coming back to me now. Those things, is it in the swamp?
There's a swamp, and then there's a forest with gates that you have to switch on and off.
Okay, yeah, I know where you're at.
And
okay.
Everything is a skunk, and everything that is not a skunk is a boar that stuns with its charge, and everything that is not a skunk or a boar is like a lizard dude that also has a paralysis ability. So you lose souls constantly.
Yeah, it's the obligatory swamp level. The boars aren't that bad usually if you're playing melee, but the skunks are a problem no matter what.
It doesn't even seem like you have to get hit. You just have to be near when they fart, and it's over.
Yeah, the hitbox is not very clear on those skunks. Nobody likes the skunks.
Freaking skunks.
Yeah, I remember reading about that now. And everybody hates those stupid things. Because you can't play the game.
Yeah. It's like they said about WoW back in the day. Nobody likes being out of control of your character for an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's skunks in a nutshell.
It wouldn't have been...
again.
If you could tell where the hitbox was and it was a clear, this is a bad no-no zone coming up, that would be one thing. But the skunks just insta-fart and you're stunned.
Yeah, it's invariably, I'm definitely out of the way this time. Oh no, I forgot. Skunks can teleport by digging into their ground and appearing behind you and then farting.
Oh, right, they can do that, can't they?
Everything about the skunks is awful.
There's a lot of farting.
I'm glad I didn't have to farm those things.
Ugh.
I can't remember if I went out of my way not to specifically farm them or not, but I didn't have to farm them for anything in the Chivos.
And they often appear in packs of like 8. And they will just all converge on the player character and fart simultaneously.
Yeah, I don't even think they have a good ability for Velvet to steal to insta-jib the problem enemies. Like, if it's an aerial enemy and it's giving you trouble, the answer is press claw on Velvet and use Laughing Raven. That is always the answer to the problem.
I think that's the reason why the having one soul thing is not really as much of a problem for like Velvet, because if you have 3, you can use your last one, because what will happen, your second can't use the break soul on 2, so you'll go down to 2, but that just means that you have to hit twice and then you can use your finisher. So yeah, because it always happens at the end of your combo, even if that combo is only 2 moves long. So yeah, you don't have as much of a problem with Velvet. But
Aizen's a similar deal, but he takes the approach of he has a very short, not fully extended thrust with his hand, and if he does that, it has a stupid high chance to stun, and he has a stomp that has a stupid high chance to stun. So if you somehow run low on souls with Aizen, you just mash those 2 buttons over and over again until something gets stunned or dead.
At any rate, I dread to think what Zesturia's combat system must be like if it was worse, because this one is really not good. It's the worst one in any Tales game I've played.
You DNA digivolve with one of the spirits and you mash the B button. That's how you play Zestiria. It doesn't matter what strategy the boss has, what the mechanics are. You just mash the button.
It's also, this one's also been the easiest one. Like, there's not been any enemies that have offered me much challenge other than Nasty Bat that I challenged and got stuck against because I only had 2 people in the party.
Stupid asshole bat.
Yeah, one of them was an idiot called Rokuro.
Form
who just
Zero.
kept dying.
Thunder.
Yeah, that guy. But yeah, as usual, it's a Tales game, so the best thing is always the skit. So yeah, at least those are happening.
Have you run into the skit where Aizen and Rokuro are teaching Laphicet about girls?
Yes, I have run into that one.
That sounds horrifying. Why would you do this?
It's my favorite skit in the game. I love that skit. I don't think...
it carries on into like another 4 skits though. Like, it's not just a one and done. It's like every skit after that for the next 2 hours is discussing the fallout of that little discussion.
Oh boy.
Oh.
You have a child here who is growing in identity. Why would you let the idiot and the pervert talk to him?
Oh, Aizen's not a pervert.
Yeah, okay.
No, even in the hot springs bit, where of course because the boys wind up on the girl's side, because that always happens in hot springs episodes.
Always.
He just doesn't care. He just doesn't care. He's like, dude, I'm a spirit. My form's cosmetic, yo. Doesn't matter.
Oh, that's right. I've forgotten entirely about that.
I'm sort of amused by the fact that the Velvet is like super insecure about having Eleanor around, and basically spends all of her time trying to remind Laphicet that she's the big sister here.
Yeah. I love the character dynamic in Berseria. It sells it more than anything else in the game, I think. They all interact really well.
Well, I think that's probably because the story, like I talked about last week, the story is based on character motivations. It's based on characters. It's not based on, oh, there's this big cosmic threat that we need to put down, which is what always seems to be the case.
Yes.
It's based on these people want to do these things, and these are the reasons, and how these reasons bounce off other people's reasons, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Near the end of the game, even when the stakes get really high for the world, when they just go and they go one at a time. They're like, yeah, our motivations are all personal, and they list off each individual one. They don't care that the world's ending. They got a personal stake in what's going on.
Yeah, I think getting caught up in the sort of the cosmic nature of threats is real. It's been to the real detriment of JRPGs in general when that sort of becomes the central focus. I think, for instance, like that completely hamstrung the narrative in Final Fantasy XII. Like that's part of why that game was so bad, because none of the characters had any real character to, except for Balthier.
Yeah, except Balthier stole the show, but that's because everyone around him was
he stole the show because he had character and he had a personal stake in it because of his sort of relationship with the judges and so on. But ultimately, that story was just like a cosmic threat story. Like that, oh, there's these Wooja guys manipulating things from behind the scenes. I can barely remember.
Yeah, it was just some Wooja thing.
It was a cosmic threat story, and the characters became lost because of it. And that was the. But the thing is that that's a real. It's the sort of story that appeals to the Chuny personality, I think. The idea that things are sort of a threat on a cosmic level and you're intervening in it because you're so great.
You're the only one who can save the world.
Yeah, and I think that to a great extent that I feel had something to do with the sense of resounding disappointment that most people had in Final Fantasy VIII. Because Final Fantasy VII meshed the personal level and the cosmic threat level relatively well. It had both. And that's why people remember it so fondly.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VIII, it didn't actually matter who did the job of saving the world.
No.
The world was absolutely screwed, and you basically had to luck your way into victory, and that was the way it worked. Because the story was fundamentally about the mob of screwed up misfits who had to actually do the job. Who are just, child soldiers. they're screwed up by default. There's no way you can be a child soldier and not be screwed up. So, yeah, I feel like that's why people were disappointed with that, because it doesn't actually stroke the Chunibyo urge, because none of those guys are special.
Nah.
They really aren't. There's no character who's got their finger on the pulse of reality or anything. And so, yeah. But at any rate, so I'm going to continue with Berseria. I'm enjoying it. It's mechanically soggy. It's not the worst I've ever played, but it is far, far from the best. But in terms of having characters that entertain me with their interactions on a regular basis, like, there hasn't been a story event that I've been sorely, sorely disappointed in yet.
Yeah.
Like, I've commented on my reservations about certain story elements in the past, but generally speaking, I like most of the story beats that I've seen. I think most of them, while there's nothing particularly new or imaginative, they're carried off quite well. And it's always refreshing to have a new take, and it's pretty rare that we get a JRPG these days where the entire main central thrust of the story is the main character's thirst to murder a man. Like, especially when you're the protagonist. Like, there are edgy games where that's the case, but this is a standard optimistic JRPG in the high fantasy fashion, except the main character has a murderous streak a mile wide.
She really should have just spoken to a shrink. They probably would have avoided a lot of the story.
Pretty sure they don't have those in high fantasy settings.
Yeah.
I'm also pretty sure she was not able to exactly go anywhere for a while.
Yeah, there was that whole locked in a deep pit for however many years it was.
Yeah, after your trauma, if you're placed in solitary confinement, it doesn't do good things for your mental state.
But,
Takes a while to recover from that.
But the world can only ever be saved by edgy angst-ridden teens, so, you gotta make them.
Yeah, that said, I've actually quite enjoyed Eleanor's character because I expected her to end up being, like, lawful stupid. But she's not lawful stupid, she's just lawful naive, and at a relatively realistic pace is thawing out of it. Whereas I was worried that she would just, like, have 4 chapters of being Steiner from Final Fantasy IX, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although Steiner was enjoyable for completely different reasons.
Yeah. And he does become, like, a bro.
He does. But he plays up the stupid part of lawful stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only problem I had with Eleanor was her individual character story itself. When you get to the end of the game, you'll be able to pursue each character's individual stories that aren't resolved during the main plot. Like, Aizen's gets fairly well resolved in the main plot, so he doesn't have his own story. But, like, Eleanor and Rokuro and a few others, and even a couple of the side characters like Zavid have the conclusions of their stories, and the rest of them set at the end of the game as side quests you can do. And I just thought Eleanor's wasn't very good.
Alright,
that's the only problem I had with her.
We need to move on and take a break,
right,
because time...
So, we're going to go to a break, because we're almost at an hour and a half, and we'll be right back. we're back.
Yes.
So we were at Falls Week, and we were talking about Berseria.
Right. I don't know that I have much more to say about that other than I don't think that cats are cool. And I don't think anybody does.
Well, no. Cats are smug assholes.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Velvet. She's allergic to cats.
I like
Also-
my cat, but he's a smug asshole.
I haven't used the cooking mechanic at all, ever.
I had to, but I forgot what I did with it.
For the Chivos.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot that was there. It's not dry toast, at least.
Yeah, it's a passive thing you leave on in the background anyway, so it doesn't ever matter.
Yeah.
No, it's a passive thing I leave off in the background.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I was just
Because
choosing
I don't-
resources.
You'd never be able to have enough ingredients. This is another one, like the titles that I was complaining about last time. I feel like the cooking system is another thing that's totally redundant at this point.
Yeah.
Like, there is no human way you can possibly have enough resources to use that system. I don't see how it's done. I don't understand it. Maybe somebody can explain, but I don't know. Like, that would just burn through everything. I could understand if, like, oh, I think this is going to be a hard boss fight, so we'll just chew on some grub. But because you don't know when that's going to happen.
But to get the food that's actually meaningful and to get the bonuses with the certain chefs, you have to cook like 800 meals with everybody.
Why?
Who's going to do that? Like, it's just... I don't know. If it was just something trivial, like that just happened in the background, you didn't need to collect a million things for it, then maybe. Or maybe if it used balmy fluid as an ingredient.
Oh, yeah, you do get loaded up on certain maps at some point.
Because, like, I sell... Every time I pass a shopkeeper, I sell 50 balmy fluid. Like, don't even want to know what that stuff is, but
It's
I always have too much of it. But, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll leave that there. I've played not much more of Warriors Orochi, so I don't have much to talk about there. Too many games on my plate, as usual.
I described Warriors Orochi to a girl on comms the other night, actually, and she went into a squeeing fit over Super Saiyan Lu Bu, so...
Why?
Largely because she found it so gloriously stupid that she just wanted to go out and buy the game immediately.
I see.
And she's kind of the squeeing type.
Right.
It gets painful.
Anyway. Yeah, I really want to play more of... Like, I do like it very much. But
It's such a
who has the
stupid
time?
game.
Yeah, that's the best part.
It is just so gloriously stupid.
But, yeah, what else? I watched that Goblin Slayer anime.
Oh, no.
Like, it finally fell below the threshold of hype that I was able to watch it, because it had only been mentioned in my social media feed twice in the span of a week. So,
Oh, it's slowing down.
yeah, as opposed to 30 times a day.
Yes.
Like, the reason I haven't played Undertale yet is because I still can't get rid of all the Undertale crap from my social media feed.
And you won't because the sequel's out now.
Yeah.
Well, the teaser for the sequel or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just Undertale memes everywhere all the time. It never seems to end.
Yep.
The game may be good, but it is not this good. No game is this good. So, yeah, I watched the Goblin Slayer anime, and, you know, something about it feels janky, like a little bit artificial and weird and not quite normal, but I, by and large, enjoyed it. I'm not quite sure what it is that leaves me with sort of itchy feeling like something's not quite right. But yeah, there's by and large I do quite enjoy it, but I don't really understand the mentality of some of the characters. Like, basically, in the setting, goblins are simultaneously a minor monster that nobody gives a toss about, and the scourge of all free people. And I can't reconcile those two things in my
Those are
head.
complete opposite things. Huh.
Like, the reason people people don't like everybody's named after their job. Basically, it's like an MMO. Just accept that as a conceit of the setting because nobody has a name.
That sounds
So
like
Goblin,
writing.
it's not lazy writing, it's just a stylist, which is also lazy, but it prevents you having a cast of people named Jeff.
Fair enough.
Which Ari knows all about.
Yep.
I remain Jeff.
So, people don't seem to like Goblin Slayer because they think that he's like a high-ranked adventurer who does nothing but take paltry, easy quests. So he's probably just secretly a scaredy cat who's no good in a fight and can't kill bigger monsters. But it turns out that goblins are nasty, wily little creatures that do more damage to the common man than basically anything else. And I understand what they're going with, because like my view of Goblin Slayer is that he's a very respectable and blue collar type who does the filthy jobs that nobody else is willing to do because they think they're all too good for him. But that society wouldn't operate without them. You know what I mean? But it doesn't quite work because it's so self-evident in the human and economic toll that goblins wreak on society that it doesn't seem to make any sense to me that he's viewed as such a reprobate. Like it's not really. It doesn't seem to be really explained because like what the series is famed for is butchering goblins, graphic. And the other thing that the series is famed for and more famed for is the amount of rape that takes place, because goblins have a penchant for kidnapping human women and raping them. I won't say that it's tasteful, but they don't play that angle too graphically too often in the anime. Apparently, the book is much more graphic, and the manga basically has a huge amount of sick, twisted fun with playing it. But
Ew.
the anime keeps it comparatively tame, insofar as you can take something fundamentally vile to be tame. But yeah, I don't really grasp the massive disconnect between the way goblins are and the way they are viewed by virtually everybody who is not named Goblin Slayer. The dark comedy, because it is a dark comedy, fundamentally it strikes me as being a dark comedy, but the comedy is not too dark. It's sort of in a very comfortable place where like the world is dark, but the comedy is just funny and sort of like mildly slapsticky, as opposed to, and it's quite ironic in a lot of ways as well. But as opposed to actually being, jokes about rape, jokes about violence, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the jokes mainly revolve around Goblin Slayer's complete monomaniacal obsession with killing goblins. Like the most common joke is that somebody will ask for his help with something, and he'll ask if there are goblins, and they'll say no, and he'll just walk off. And related jokes like his normal practice, he goes to the Adventurers Guild to get quests, and he just goes up to the receptionist and says goblins, and of course she knows exactly what he's after. Because, he's always looking for the goblin quests so that he can kill more goblins. You can basically bait him into anything by saying that there are goblins to kill. But yeah, it's not a light comedy, it's a dark comedy, because the world is very dark. But the comedy itself is not tasteless, most of it. So there's lots of sight gags, like the expression on the High Elf Archer's face when and it's a meme, actually. It's a very popular meme, image meme at the moment, of the High Elf Archer realizing that Goblin Slayer intends to have the entire party smear goblin blood all over them. And just an expression on her face. And she turns to Priestess and asks, as if to ask if he's serious. And Priestess just has this blank, dead-eyed look on her face with a vacant smile and says, "You get used to it." But yeah, the comedy is in a dark setting, but it is not dark itself, so I'm able to digest it quite readily. Plus, right. I don't have any I don't have any compunctions about the murder of goblins. I guess it seems to be expected that you're meant to find it a little bit shocking that that Goblin Slayer just goes into the den, he kills all the goblins, he finds the goblins' children, and he butchers the innocent children as well. Like, I don't even understand how that's supposed to be shocking. Like, when I find a nest of cockroaches, I kill them. I don't care how old they are. Like, if anything, I think baby vermin are more disgusting than fully grown vermin. So
they're not cute.
They wiggle around more and they're icky.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't even understand why that's supposed to be shocking, but apparently it is.
See, this
So like.
This is actually a complete different perspective from what every review ever says about this show, because usually they just focus on her, edge rape, her.
No, I think that this show is about how people don't respect blue collar workers enough. Like, he does a horrible, difficult job, which is thankless. Everybody disrespects him for it. Society would collapse if he didn't do it. The penalties for him not doing his job are unthinkable. But he does it anyway, and he has his own psychological issues behind why he's so enthusiastic about it. I mean, he's got his own dark past. As I said, the setting is quite dark, but it's ultimately about a man who does a dirty job that other people refuse to do and look down on him for. But it really, really does need to be done. And he's got a really good work ethic. He's professional. He's thorough. He understands that there's no kill like overkill.
That's the best kind of kill.
There's a lot to like about it, but it's not. It's not the things that people say are good about it that I think are good, and it's not the things that people say are bad about it that I think are bad. So, yeah, I don't really know. I appear to have approached this entirely orthogonal.
Yes,
and that's probably because I'm a human supremacist. I don't think that the lesser races have any rights.
Humans suck.
In a fantasy world, it's everyone for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like even people who like elves, like, you can't seriously tell me that you like Thalmor. Come on.
No, nobody likes the Thalmor.
Yeah, and there you have it. So. Yeah, I think that it's a solid series. You don't actually it's not, in my experience, while the implications are heavy and dark in some of the scenes, it's not a story that's going to make you upchuck or anything like that. Like, it's less bloody than Elfen Lied.
Okay.
Well, Elfen Lied was gore for gore's sake in some scenes.
Yeah, that's what the reason why I bring that up is that people have described Goblin Slayer like that.
I see.
They're not in the same league. They're really not. There are some really cool fight scenes which they use, tricks and ingenuity, and the Goblin Slayer is not a berserker. He's a very methodical fighter who plans carefully and will often not even directly engage the goblins if he can smoke them out, flood them out, burn them out, anything to murder as many goblins as possible without putting himself at risk.
He's a critical hit fighter. He's a critical hit fighter that rolled his int at some number higher than 14.
No, he's a professional exterminator.
Yeah, he is a pest control expert.
He functions like a pest control expert, which is why I make the blue collar comparison.
Well, every society's got to have their garbage man.
That's it.
Yeah. But, yeah. So, I'll leave my week there.
All right. Have to burn through this again.
We will almost skip my week. We'll go very briefly over it.
Did you do anything other than grind in FGO?
This was work in FGO week. I really didn't do anything else. I just wasn't in the mood to do anything when I did have time. It was a very... Yeah, this work week was so just messed up because it was training week, on top of a very obnoxious incident where my personal email account for work just got deleted.
Oh, well, that's always fun.
Yeah, so our webmaster, who was hired before I came on, still has the rights to the all the stuff server side. And this includes our email accounts. The only thing I've done for the website is make the actual base design, which is just a heavily modified template. It's not a custom piece of work. And
that's the job.
he Yeah, he had access to all this crap, and he was tinkering with it at some point, like either I forget, this whole week's a blob. I forget what day stuff happened this week, but it's some day this week. And I get in the office and I try to log on my email, and it ain't coming up. So I do some digging. I'm like, okay, let's pull up the list of registered emails we have. My name's not on there, and the word placeholder's there.
Captain Placeholder?
Yeah, so I was Captain Placeholder for a bit. So I had to hunt this guy down and get him to get my email back. And the whole day, I'm sitting in my chair, staring at my phone, because people can't get a hold of me through email now. They're going to call me if it's important. And I got people calling me with dumb questions like, why is your email down, when they're trying to send out like memos and company-wide stuff?
Yes.
Because it just bounces back, because that email doesn't exist right now. I'm like, don't worry about it. Our webmaster messed up. I'm fixing it. And there's not a whole lot I can do on my end, because I don't have the rights to the emails. I don't own that server. I can't set it back up myself. So I was just stuck. And this led to me sitting in my desk, just doing what I could, and a whole lot of just brainless computer work, like data entry and stuff. And this whole time, I've got an iPad next to me with FGO and the Christmas event going, and I'm not even looking at the screen after I pick the support and just drumming my fingers in the general area of the cards on the screen.
Yeah, the fights aren't overly difficult for this event.
Yeah, I had 2 characters that could solo the 40 AP quest in my party that were not bonus drop up, but I didn't care. And just chewed through it in like 2 days. It was a lot of runs. But yeah, this event was a pain in the butt, and I was getting sick of doing back-to-back events. And I was going to not do this event. I was just going to, get Santa and call it a day. And then the CE dropped during casual farming for the Ascension materials. And then plans changed.
The OCD kicked in, and it was all over.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it's too much work to complete this thing. It's not worth it. CE drops. Crap. And it's not a CE I wanted either. It was just for completion's sake that it was bugging me. Like, I have a good quick CE. I have Dangerous Beast at Major League Baseball, or MLB, whatever you call it. I call it Major League Baseball because I keep forgetting max limit break.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I have that already. I don't need another quick one. Dangerous Beast is way better anyway. In almost all cases. But I got it. It's the last time this thing's ever going to come back around again. So I just sucked it up and did it. And by that point, I'm already chewing through the store and got my way through most of the boxes. Might as well go for the gold and just get everything. No reason not to, I suppose.
And next thing you know, the whole event's done.
Yeah, and then just kept mashing the button while I was doing other stuff. There was very little active play during this event due to how easy it was, because it's it's the second oldest event that has a shop and a welfare servant like that. Mm-hmm. So it's set for people that were just starting the game, which my servant roster and the amount of time I've had an account just to accrue EXP cards over time, I'm not. So I sneezed my way through the event, but it took a long, long time. Because, yeah, it also helped that I had a few of the CEs from last year to make drops better, but that was all that happened. But yeah, it was a whole lot of training at work this week, and not a whole lot of fun training, a whole lot of superfluous stuff that I already knew, and I was running around helping other people with it. There was one meeting I did learn some stuff. Oh, God.
That's not that.
No, it's bad. Can't start yawning. Yeah. Just not a whole lot to talk about this week. It was a busy-ish week at some points, and at other points I just had a lot of time to sit around. I don't like those kind of weeks at all. This is my least favorite type of week because it just turns into a blob, and I don't feel like doing anything because I can't commit myself to something.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, and I can't do the piecemeal play thing. It doesn't compute with me.
Yeah,
so I wound up
noticed.
Yeah, so I just wound up sitting there poking at FGO and idols while I'm in the little bits of intermittent time I had, because, yeah, I didn't want to make no progress in something I do. But yeah, so that's the thing. Then that's really all that happened. My week was really, really boring. It was a lot of training at work, a lot of meetings, the internet, the email shenanigans, and FGO and idols. Nothing new to talk about.
All right. In that case, we should probably look at some news. Because don't worry, stuff actually happened this week.
It did.
What to start with? Oh, I suppose we start with the big sad, the death of Stan Lee.
Yeah, I guess I'm not enough of a comic person for that to really hit, but he was sort of indirectly responsible for the anime boom.
Mm-hmm.
Because he I think, if I have my facts correct, I think he founded the imprint that first translated Akira, resulting in the animation getting brought to the West, which basically kicked off the anime boom originally.
I might actually have to look this up.
It sounds familiar-ish. I don't know if it was Stan Lee or somebody else, but something like that happened. But yeah, I read a fair amount of comic books, not a lot.
Here we are. It was Stan Lee.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. The dude was just always the dude that existed before I was born by like 50 years and just always showed up in every movie that he was even tangentially related to. And he seemed like a cool dude in the way he acted. And other people said he was a jerk, and I just didn't care that much, TBH. He was a big, influential dude, I get it, but...
Well, he basically invented merchandise.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just, I don't have any personal attachment to the dude, so I barely processed the news when it happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it happened.
It's a sad day. I really enjoyed his work, both comics and the spin-offs from it. Well, most of it anyway.
He invented a pile of the superheroes, didn't he? Like
him and Jack Kirby made a lot of the more iconic ones. Their most famous they made is the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Didn't he also do the X-Men?
I don't know if he was responsible for the base X-Men team or not.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, the only ones I'm for sure of are the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man.
Oh, he did a bunch of others as well. I think he did Hulk as well.
Yeah, he's got scattered Marvel characters throughout the entire universe, are him and Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And they were... Well, the stories change all the dang time about who made what. The point is they're considered joint creations between those two.
Yeah.
And Kirby passed away... 6-7 years ago?
Yeah, it was a...
Let's ask Wikipedia. Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, the X-Men, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wikipedia could also be really inflated with people coming in just because he died to give him more credit than he actually deserves on it too.
Well, these all have reference things attached to them.
So okay. So yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah. He was a dude.
He
made some cool stuff.
I'd say we'd miss him, but he's apparently got about 10 movies of cameos already recorded, so we'll be seeing him for a little while yet.
Yeah. The obligatory Stan Lee cameo in every single Marvel product will continue for about another 3 or 4 years.
He even shows up in that stupid Teen Titans movie, too, as a cameo.
Yeah, he did some work with DC before they became DC.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Stan Lee was everywhere. He was just a cultural icon thing.
Yeah, he will be missed. Right.
Yeah.
Happy news.
He had a good run. Yeah.
Yeah, 97.
He did have a good long run, though.
97 years.
95, 97, something like that.
Yeah.
That's a good 17-ish over the average.
That's a very
I've heard
run.
that people were basically waiting for him to die. By the end, he was ailing pretty badly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's move on to new stuff.
Happy news. Some happy news. What do we got?
Hang on. So we have 2 bits of news that are going to be fun to talk about, but I'm not sure they're happy or not yet.
We'll see.
Okay, we'll do Command & Conquer first, since you can talk about this one. It's okay. It's the remaster. They got it announced.
I know. So we got a remaster announced for the original Command & Conquer and the original Red Alert in a handy-dandy bundle.
Mm-hmm.
And they've even come on record and saying, we're not going to put our dicks in it and add microtransactions.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact where an article, I can quote it and says, there has also been the promise of no microtransactions in this package and be happy about it is not a world I'm happy to live in. But I'm glad it exists for this particular product because Command & Conquer needs a break.
Yeah.
The poor franchise.
But at the end of the day, as much as I would love to say I'm hype as all get out for these, because I love these two games, they're both great. It's EA.
And EA.
Yeah, so
are they going to do enough to justify buying it again for $20?
Are they going to do it enough to justify me installing Origin on my system?
No.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
That's just a flat Origin. No.
Because that's going to be the only way to get it.
Yeah. Alternatively, I do have the Command & Conquer Collector's Edition around here somewhere. I could go and play Command & Conquer Generals.
That's true. I can't stop yawning. I need to, splash some water on my face or something.
Yeah, stop that.
Man, there is no way that they would let anybody...
So, yeah, it is great news, but I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, because this is still EA. How are they going to ruin it?
Been reading too much Worm.
Also, yes.
Yeah, they're probably going to, charge $40 a title or something.
Yeah, sell them separately or something like that.
X-Packs or something to it. We don't know. There's too little information to really make a judgment on the product, but it's a thing that's happening. And the initial pitch is looking okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, this is their big chance to reclaim a lot of lost goodwill.
Yes.
Because they've got a lot of lost
They've
goodwill.
got a lot of ground to make up there. But I'm just waiting for them to turn around and say something like, Command & Conquer, pay an extra $20 if you want Kane in the game.
Oh, Soviet bear skins.
The remaster will involve them refilming the FMV sequences with acting that isn't so bad it's good, it's just bad.
It's just bad, yeah.
Yeah.
It better not. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I want to go back and play Red Alert 3 just as a palate cleanser. Well, palate cheesier, I guess. Tim
Was that
Curry,
the one with Yuri in it?
Yeah, Tim Curry and George Takei having a full-on ham-to-ham fight.
Yeah. Oh, Red Alert.
That game was so hammy it practically squealed. It was glorious.
You could make bacon with that game.
Yes.
So
that is some mostly good news, but again, I keep staying skeptical because it is, after all, EA.
They've got everything to prove still.
Yep.
Yeah. Prove that they're not actual crab people.
The devil.
Well, I was going to say crab people, but okay, devil. We'll go with the devil themselves.
The actual devil.
The actual devil. They're actually Satan. No, wait, that's Emiya.
They're actually Satan. The actually is important, I think.
The actually Satan.
Yeah.
Because actually Satan is Emiya.
Yeah. Go watch Unlimited Blade Works Bridge, folks. It's really good.
I haven't heard much good about it.
I really enjoyed it.
Amongst the fandom, it's sort of viewed relatively dimly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the fandom is the Fate fandom, so...
Yeah.
They have an unpredictable lot.
Very, very fickle.
I really enjoyed it. But yeah. So you want to stay out of character and go to the other bit of potential happy?
Yeah, let's stay happy. I enjoy being happy-ish.
This keeps going. It's all potential happies this week. I want to clarify. We don't know that much about what the happies are, but we got a few things that people are saying they're doing.
This is a nice change. Normally it's doom and misery.
Yeah, so... The Castlevania Netflix series came out. It's done incredibly well, and the guy that made it is pretty dang competent.
Yeah.
So far.
There are people
the first season was
course,
really good. I haven't seen the second season.
There are people who detract on the whole series, basically saying it was written by Westerners, yeah.
Yeah, those people don't matter. The series tells a coherent story and stays true with enough throwbacks and Easter eggs to the games to be a decent series. I mean, it's not the greatest thing of all time, but it's pretty dang good.
That protagonist entrance in the first episode, just Go watch that.
Yeah, just will you please stop kicking me in the balls, or whatever he says in the bar.
That's more or less it. Would you just please stop kicking me in the balls?
Yeah, he managed to take a completely blank slate Trevor and make him this fun to be around dude in the first season.
Yeah.
He has his angsty bits that's really boring to watch, but the rest of him, when he's actually acting like Trevor and the Vampire Hunter, is really, really fun.
Yeah.
So he handled Trevor pretty well. Well, he sees all the DMC hype going around, and he goes, you know what? I'm going to steal that IP for a film or for a short series before somebody else does and ruins it.
Like they did last time. No, happy thoughts.
Well,
happy thoughts.
Yeah, last time we got something so mediocre it was forgettable, which is about as bad as you can get.
Yeah.
This time, I think his name is Shakar or Shankar or something like that. The Castlevania dude. I can't pronounce his last name. But yeah, he is quoted as saying that he acquired these Devil May Cry rights for himself so that the jabronis in Hollywood didn't F this one up too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is very hopeful words to throw at the fans.
This is the same week, by the way, we got Uncanny Valley Pikachu. We'll come back to that.
Yeah. So yeah, he's thinking of making some kind of bootleg multiverse that's not directly connected to each other, but follows a few similar rules between Castlevania and DMC, which they're kind of similar in aesthetic in some places, so they can kind of fit together. But while I love both of those series to death, and I'm very happy that somebody competent has got a hold of both of them for their Netflix series, it's also still a Netflix series. And Netflix has not crunched down on him yet like they did with Marvel when their show started to do bad. But they could before this thing gets in proper production. It's still in pre-production.
If they do, that would just sign its death warrant.
Yeah. But the Castlevania series has done well enough that, from what he said, they haven't dropped the hammer on him and totally tied him up yet.
Excellent. So we may get something good.
Yeah, there's a potential for something really awesome here. I really just wanted to bring it up with the quote. That's the whole reason I thought the article was significant, was somebody's like, okay, Hollywood's messing this stuff up really bad. I'm stealing this before they can do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll tangent on. We saw the trailer for the Detective Pikachu movie.
I don't even have a response formulated 3 days after seeing it.
It is so strange.
Like, this is not even them ruining my childhood. Like, I didn't even recognize my childhood.
This is like what happens when the Hollywood XX at some movie production company get the rights to Pika Man, and they're like, okay, we got to make a Pika Man movie. So they go make a Pika Man movie, and the only thing they can do is make some buddy cop comedy. And there's one guy on the production team somewhere, some camera guy or something that does not have a lot of weight, running around trying to keep things accurate to the universe by telling everybody. Is what this thing reeks of.
I don't know. It just seems so stupid that I could probably actually enjoy it for all the wrong reasons.
It doesn't seem like it's about Pokemon though.
No. Well, the original Detective Pikachu game, it's basically just a mystery story set in the Pokemon universe. The Pokemon's kind of arbitrary. So
I know, but what I'm saying is that this isn't even recognizable.
No, like there's Pokemon.
You saw that Jigglypuff, right?
That Jigglypuff is horrifying.
Yeah. If you have not seen the trailer for the Detective Pikachu movie, A, just go watch it, and B, for those of you that aren't, your frame of reference for this is like, what's those live action movies with the CG characters everywhere?
Yeah.
And with the really deep and adult voices that they shouldn't have.
Yeah, so in this case, you've got Pikachu with his cuteness cranked up to the nines, but he's voiced by Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Instead of the usual voice actor who sits around going Pika Pika all day.
Well, she's there too, but I think those are just reused sound clips from something they already had.
Yeah, that was in there as a gag, or part of a gag.
Yeah, it's like I can't intellectually, like, I can't overlay Pikachu in Deadpool.
No.
Like, these characters just don't have that much in common.
He's already been nicknamed Pikapool, by the way.
There's just some kind of processing error whenever I think about this thing.
Pikachu
This is
and
like-
Deadpool does not match.
404 file not found.
Like,
Error.
A fatal
should-
exception has occurred.
This should not exist.
Yes, it does. So you end up with an extremely adorable Pikachu that cannot emote in any meaningful way other than look cute.
With a really, really deep Ryan Reynolds voice.
Yeah. And then you've got, Cosmic Horror Jigglypuff and full-on monster Charizard. And then just a Mr. Mime.
Apparently, people were objecting to the Jigglypuff looking so furry, and I think it was I saw a tweet from Zelda Williams who said something like, "Well, can you imagine what it would be like if it didn't have fur? It'd be like one of those hairless cats."
She raises a good point. I think if it wasn't fuzzy, it would be even weirder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just... I can't make an opinion on this. It doesn't process at all.
Yeah, this is like something from another dimension that just doesn't have any. There's no way to refer to it using languages in our world.
Yeah.
You know all those feelings Lovecraft tried to capture in the monsters he described? That's this trailer. It doesn't work.
On that
You can
note, though, I'm totally going to watch this.
You kind of have to at this point. It's something that's so not there and shouldn't exist. It has to be seen at this point.
Morbid fascination, if nothing else. Like,
Yeah.
how could it be?
I'll be actually surprised if it turns out to be at least somewhat good. And not, it's an enjoyable bad movie. It's just an actually good movie.
It's going to turn out to be the best video game movie of all time.
Let's face
Because all
it, that
video
is
games
not
are
a high bar.
Because, yeah, you got to jump very high to hit that.
No.
Just from the weird factor alone, it's going to reach that bar.
At the current moment, I think the top runner for that is the Warcraft movie. Because Normie's getting involved on that, even though it breaks the canon, but whatever. Like Blizzard,
Yeah.
they aren't canon straight anymore.
Canon implying.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Alright, we got the announcement of the next Final Fantasy XIV expansion pack.
Oh, this one's all y'all.
Yep.
Yep, so we got a slick as all get out trailer for it.
Yeah, well, all the trailers are really slick. I've seen two bits of media. I haven't followed it up especially strongly, but I saw the one which is about the Warrior of Darkness.
The Warrior of Darkness, I'm edgy now.
Yeah, he's so edgy, man.
That's because he's
All of the edge.
That's what he gets for class swapping into Dark Knight halfway through the fight. It's just immediate edge mode activate.
And it's like a guy I talked to from my free company. I talked to him on Discord quite regularly. He was like, "Oh, I totally called it 2 years ago that the Warrior of Light was going to become the Warrior of Darkness." And I was like, "You seriously think that that's a call? Like, they're just going through every JRPG plot beat ever conceived of. That's just how you do this. Like, if you didn't call this, that would be a bigger problem." But
well, question is, I
it's,
suppose, which Warrior of Light?
yeah,
There's a
that's the
couple of
thing
million of
that-
them running around.
Yeah, and it's not really that in a very real way. It's not significant because it's sort of like how in World of Warcraft, as I've talked about recently, there's no way for you to meaningfully decide anything, and the World of Warcraft story is not written to cope with that, but the Final Fantasy story has always been written to cope with that because you're the Warrior of Light. That means you do Warrior of Light things.
Yes.
So, turning you into Warrior of Darkness, like, number one, being a Warrior of Darkness doesn't actually seem to imply anything in Final Fantasy.
No.
Because Dark Knights don't do anything different to any other kind of knights in Final Fantasy.
They just do it edgier.
They just have more spikes on their armor while they do it.
Yes.
That's the only difference. So, I don't understand how this is even an announcement. Because all it means is there's going to be a story.
Yeah.
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 But I'm interested in the way the story will go because I've seen I've gotten two impressions from the story from the material I've watched. And number one is that there's going to be sort of a great undoing of all the things that have been accomplished, by one means or another.
Yes. And the story seems to be about redoing those things.
And the second one is going to be is that, oh, well, we're going to go to war with the Empire proper.
Yes.
And stick them in their place.
Which has only been building up since Reborn launched.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's sort of hard not to be interested in that as a person who really, really, really enjoys Final Fantasy XIV and really wishes that I had time to play it, but nobody had that time. But yeah, the other major piece of content that I've seen is the class reveal, the new job class reveal.
Yes, the Blue Mage, which we haven't seen in Final Fantasy for quite some time.
No, we haven't. It's often overlapped with the Gunner in more recent.
Yeah, I think the last true Blue Mage we saw was Quina in 9, that chef frog thing.
Yeah, I hesitate to call it a Blue Mage.
Well, the other one...
so strange.
The other one was, what's his name? Kimori from 10, who was actually a Lancer, except when he limit broke.
Well, there was a Gunner one, a Mage Gunner in Gen 2 that disappeared.
Oh, yeah, the class. It's one of those weird classes.
Pistis, and in 7 it was just a Materia.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the gist of the Blue Mage, for those that don't know, is the enemy skill using mage.
Yes.
They absorb enemy abilities and then use them as their own.
Yes.
There's not a great deal communicated by this trailer other than you actually do go and earn your abilities by going and killing things.
Yeah, so it uses a few examples, which is like 10,000 needles and bad breath and something from Shiva.
Yeah, well, that's the part that interested me, is that it runs the whole gamut, right? Like, random Cactuar up to monstrous Aeon creature thing.
Yes. Does Shiva actually use that bow in a fight? I can't remember.
I don't recall either. The Shiva fight was mainly a blur to me because it's just ice everywhere and you're trying to survive.
Do not stand in the blue patch. Everything's a blue patch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be fun.
But yeah, it looks dapper.
Dapper as all get out. Like, your weapon is a cane.
Yeah. Like, you're just... Your task is pimping.
Yes. So, yeah, you run around and you're equipping a pimping cane.
Yeah, it seems like largely like a more blue-themed version of the Mesmer from Guild Wars.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's a sort of look I like. I did voice some concerns, though, that the aesthetic, it cuts so close to the sort of musketeer aesthetic that the Red Mage has that I think the art team is going to have to work real hard to make sure that they don't overlap them.
Yeah, as long as they don't do the lazy thing like they have done for half of the Summoner Black Mage stuff. Like, there's a lot of costume sets for those two which are just recolors of each other. It's really annoying.
Yeah, I think when they do the major sets, they're usually pretty good about it.
For the major
as opposed to the minor sets, but yeah.
Yeah.
Although the Summoner always ends up seeming to need to wear weird stuff on its head.
Usually some variety of carrot, yes.
I'm not sure that it's a carrot, but alright.
I think it's just supposed to be a demon horn or something, but it looks like a carrot most of the time. A wiggly, half-squashed carrot.
But yeah, so I'm interested in that, but I'm always stuck in a posture of regret regarding Final Fantasy XIV because I've never been able to see one through its conclusion.
Yeah.
And they're so good. I really enjoy them. Every one, like they're always great. Even the weird content features are great. Hildebrand is always great. Like the content is just really, really good. It's a cut above every other MMO on the market, in my opinion, in terms of just what they produce. They've got their foibles and they've got their issues, but the sheer quality and polish of the stories that they tell and the presentation of the way they tell them is great. I had a great fun with what time I was able to spend with Stormblood. The bosses were all great. The final boss of the storyline was a real boss, and like that just something I've been hungering for from an MMO.
Yeah.
There's a sense of accomplishment attached to beating the final boss.
Yeah, I've said it before in the past, where that it's something that Final Fantasy XIV does that no other MMO does, and that's their boss fights are an event. They're a spectacle. They're not just monster goes whack 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 fall over.
Yeah, like WoW bosses have always been very, very weak in this regard. Like they're just auto attack ultimate, and they will occasionally do a powerful move.
Yeah.
There aren't really auto attacks to speak of that are worth a damn in boss fights from Final Fantasy because they're always doing other stuff.
But look at Ifrit, for base form Ifrit. That's more or less what it does. It's a basic spank and tank, and it's got a couple of special abilities. But it's just the way it's presented. Everything is on fire. There is something to look at everywhere you look, and the boss is always in a state of movement.
Yeah, they're not static. Even when they are static, they're not static because you have to move around.
Yeah.
Like, static boss fights are one's like Sephiroth and one's like the final boss in Stormblood and that. Like, the boss just basically sits there, but you are running around like a lunatic trying not to die.
Yeah.
Like, I really, really like their final bosses. Like, the final encounter with, what's his name? The final baddie in Heavensward was just, like, that was a spectacle in and of itself.
The soundtrack alone makes that fight worth doing.
Like, this is what, like, it's they managed to capture so much of what it is, what it is to be a dragoon, what it is to be a dragon for that matter, in Final Fantasy is all encapsulated in that fight, because it's basically the culmination of all of those themes and all of those aesthetics that surround the dragoon as a class and dragons as a concept within Final Fantasy XIV, and it all comes to a head there in one big grand boss battle against a genuinely large boss that is really, really, really big, and you do not want to get in his way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not the best boss fight in the world. Like, there are other ones like in the game that I think are better, but it's just really, really and it's a suitable terminal point for the main story of him. And Stormblood was similar for the base storyline, where you end up with fighting the fusion between that horrible dragon thing and the evil prince dude. That fight is just, it was balls to the wall difficult, usually because you're paired with idiots, but it's still quite difficult even if you've got some competent ones in your group. Yeah, it's just that sense of it's a real final challenge that you really do have to overcome, as opposed to sort of the trivial finales that most WoW storylines come to. Like, with a WoW storyline, the finale is always either trivial or passed off to a raid instance that you may or may not ever see.
Yeah,
and they don't play it that way with the stories in Final Fantasy XIV. The raids are always sort of like adjacent. They are their own stories. The main storyline is something different. You're not obliged to go and spend hours in some hellish labyrinth in order to get to the end of the story, but you still do have to overcome serious challenges. But they've got such a pedigree of doing this that I feel like I can just trust that I know this sort of content.
Yeah,
because they've done three over since they got their second chance at life, and A Realm Reborn was great all the way through, and Heavensward was great all the way through, and all that I played of Stormblood was great. I expect that the new one will.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, interested to see where they go with that the Dark Knight plot. Is it our evil universe counterpart or something running around? I don't know.
They've already had a Warriors of Darkness plotline.
Yeah, another one. Do I have to re-roll my aura so he has the appropriately creepy rape face? If there's an evil me running around, I think I need to do that.
No, you just need a goatee. Or a Van Dyke will do if you can't get a goatee.
Yes.
That's all that's really needed to become evil, is a change in facial.
Yeah, you've got to have the evil facial hair. And that's regardless of gender, by the way.
Anyway, what else have we got?
What other bits of news do we have? We have Cliffy B swearing off making video games again.
Thank goodness.
He's done
Maybe
this
he'll
before.
shut up for a while.
Uh,
Cliffy B's last big
Disaster.
outing was Lawbreakers,
Yeah.
which has just recently finished completely imploding.
Yep.
It was never successful. It was a bandwagoning exercise. He rammed social justice politics into it and sneered at anybody who thought it didn't belong.
Mhm.
And he paid the ultimate price. Get woke, go broke, mofo.
Yep. And in order to try and make up for the money they lost on Lawbreakers, they made Radical Heights. A battle royale game.
It's like, dude, your last attempt at bandwagoning didn't work. Why did you think this one would? What is wrong with you?
Yeah. More to the point, you see that monstrosity over there? That's called Fortnite. It will eat you.
Yeah, like it ate PUBG.
Yes. It ate
When
its
was the last
parents.
time you heard about anybody talking about PUBG
You mean unironically?
without laughing?
oh, PUBG.
So, yeah, Cliffy B saying he's never making videos again, but we'll see if he actually keeps his promise this time.
We would be better off if he would. If he would just stay away and
Go
stop
away.
injecting his silly crap in, because he's like an old hand in the games industry. Like he was once upon a time, a modestly respectable name.
Mm-hmm.
Once upon a time.
And
But
he didn't go loopy in a fun way like Molyneux mostly did.
I'm pretty sure that Molyneux was never really very stable.
No, he wasn't.
You don't go around calling yourself Lord British because you think you're a totally level-headed guy.
That was
But
Richard Garriott.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is, isn't it? I often mix them up because they're both auteur types.
And they're
But,
both complete nutters.
But this is the deal, right? So Blazinski, once upon a time, was creating things like Jazz Jackrabbit and Unreal Tournament
I love
and
Jazz
Gears of
Jackrabbit.
War, and so on and so forth. And it just things got worse and worse and worse and worse for him.
Mm.
The more he was trying to live up to an idea of himself as an art creator, and the more he started to grow into the idea that he had power and that he could make things happen by weight of will. Like the first time I really noticed this happening was, if I can recall, this was some years ago. Gears of War had come out,
Mm-hmm.
and it was basically the Xbox 360 was living or dying on Gears of War, based at that point.
That game was
And-
so bro.
And they came out and bragged. I don't know if it was Blazinski himself, but he was behind the company which did it. That came out and bragged that they got to determine the specs for the 360 in order for it to run Gears of War the way they wanted.
Oh, no.
That was the first warning sign that he was going to slip off the deep end, and eventually he did. He
Mhm.
did. And this is where he is now. He thinks that Lawbreakers should be successful because, he says it should. And that's all there is really to it. That, oh well, we've got this great idea that's totally not just a knockoff of Overwatch in low G environment and stuff like that. Dude, just retire.
Just stop.
You're past it. You have clearly passed your use by date. There's nothing left for you here. Not so long as you think of yourself as an industry legend who can do no wrong.
In the moment people
Well,
start
this-
thinking of themselves as an industry legend, that's the sign of the end.
We've
Yeah.
watched, like, in the past 5 years, so many of them have just fallen on their face. Like, it started with Tim Schafer, and a bunch of them just keep going plop.
Yeah.
For the record, he's also one of these loud, smug, self-proclaiming atheists. So, yeah, that can tell you a lot about a person's character as well, when they need to go out of their way to point that out. But yeah, his time is done I really don't think that there's a place left in the industry for him. He's too much he believes too much in himself.
Yeah.
And his weight and influence as a person. That's the impression that I get from him, is that he thinks that he is just the best. That's all that he needs.
Put too much stock in the words of Parappa the Rappa. You don't always got to believe that hard.
I think he's putting his word stock more into the words of Vegeta. I am the hype.
Yeah, it's hard not to take into account that he abandoned Epic and then Epic made Fortnite.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this is just poetic justice.
Yeah. Fortnite is making literally all of the money.
Yeah, there is no money that they have not made. They have all of it. It's there.
Anything else for the news, or should we start wrapping up? Actually, it's probably right about the time.
Yeah, we're approaching or overtime. So, yeah, we're at 3.5 hours. We need to wrap this up. Yeah. I can't think of anything else, honestly.
No, I think we're about done.
Yeah, I don't see anything else on the list.
We can't be. It looks more like 2.
Yep. Okay. Oh, cheers, squeaky. Okay. Email topic of the week is pick something. Can't think of anything.
All right. How about this? The annual Nepotism Awards are starting next week. Send us your opinion.
Has anybody put anything in the right category?
No. We can tell you right now, no, they have not.
We considered talking about them, and then I remembered last year.
Yeah.
and how the conversation went, and it was basically us repeating the words, this game doesn't fit the category, about 80 times.
We'll try and say that. No, wait, we won't.
No, we'll still say it a lot, but we'll try to say it a little bit less.
Yes.
When the results actually come out.
Oh, boy. So yeah.
But yeah. I guess closing comments go, so we can wrap this up.
I forgot what sleep is.
Yeah.
I have tomorrow off for once. I don't feel depressed this afternoon.
Wow. That's a myth. The mythical day off.
Yeah, I get weekends. It's cool. There's not many things that I like a great deal about my job, but actually having weekends is one of them.
What is this of which you speak? It sounds like sorcery.
Yeah.
It's more like sauce.
Just sauce?
Yeah. Delicious sauce.
Probably has to test a lot of sauce, or things that will become sauce.
Or just hit the sauce.
Don't
hit the sauce. Well, he will hit the sauce, but don't hit the sauce, kids.
We tested water which had flakes of gold in it.
Why?
Like gold leaf in water.
Okay. Why?
Just to make people feel ultra opulent when they drink water.
Oh,
well, they do it with Goldschlager, right?
Yeah, they do.
Which is cinnamon schnapps. And I think that degenerate vodka brand Smirnoff also has a gold containing vodka.
So it's gold flavored
apparently
water?
Apparently somebody thought that it was a good idea to put gold in water. And
why?
I'm not allowed to tell you who, because there are
because they deserve our derision.
I can't talk about that. That's because of confidentiality and whatnot. Yeah. But what I will say is that it wasn't a good idea. It's just like, because we had to dispose of all of those samples.
Oh my!
Oh dear!
Oh dear!
Don't drink gold, kids.
No,
especially from budget brands. Why are you buying the opulent, expensive version of the budget brand anyway? Don't do that.
Why don't you just drink tap water? It's not terrible most of the places in the world.
I'm not even sure how the reading team read the plates, because I finished doing the filtration on it and it was like, okay, so this petri dish has a layer of gold in it, but how are you going to tell if anything's growing on the membrane?
It's sparkly? I don't know. I'm just trying to find a point to that.
This is how you make super viruses. You fuse them with gold. Do weird science experiments with it. Okay.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
All right, folks. I think we're done. Hopefully next week I'll have some actual media to talk about, but I don't know if that'll happen. Next week's looking busy too.
Yeah.
But at least it'll be consistently busy. Instead of this weird stop and go week this one was. All right, folks. We'll see you next week, I guess. Sayonara, bye-bye.